What's up, everybody? Uh, first time with the new intro, and I forgot that I had to change it when the music started, so that was a little bit of a weird startup, but I think we're okay.
We have a new intro. I don't even know this. How do I not know this?
You looked at it, right? I sent them out for you to choose the best one because you were the voice of reason in this establishment.
Oh, I didn't know that was an intro for this. I didn't know what it was for.
Yes, it's Cinema Royale, right? Real big in the front, which is the show that you're watching. Welcome to Cinema Royale. I'm John Nolan.
I'm Travis Hobson.
There he is. And we are two film critics in the DC area. PunchDrunkCritics.com is a website. You can check out our stuff every day. Before we get started, if you guys like what you see, like and subscribe below if you're on YouTube. If you're listening in podcast form, wherever podcasts are available, just write us a review or like or whatever you can do to support. That would be amazing. We'd appreciate it. And I just wanted to get that out of the way because I always forget and I hate doing it. So there we go.
And if you go to the site right now, we've got a ton of reviews that came out this week. A lot of stuff that we had reviewed previously, like Minari, that's coming out this week. I have a review of that. We have Judas and the Black Messiah, which was reviewed a couple weeks ago. It's Sunday. That's coming out this week.
Mm-hmm.
Robin Wright's Land, her directorial debut, that came out this week. Whole bunch of stuff that we reviewed previously that's coming out now in theaters, along with all sorts of brand new stuff that came out this week too. We're going to talk about a few of those things on the show. So yeah, really busy week in terms of reviews. I think that's going to be evened out because I don't think there's a whole lot coming out next week, but there was a lot this week though. So.
Yeah, I'm actually excited about our reviews next week because Wrong Turn is a remake that's happening. It's getting released next week, or has happened, I guess.
It will be a one-sided review because I'm not going to watch it, and so you let me know how it is, I guess.
Wrong Turn is one of those movies, like, it came out, there was no fanfare, and then, like, over the next 7 or 8 years, it found a life on Blu-ray at the time, because it was early 2000s, and has, like, a huge cult following now. There were like 6 or 7 of those original movies, which is basically somebody gets lost on a back road, and hillbillies jump them.
Yeah, I remember the first couple.
So they finally rebooted it, so... we've got reviews for that coming next week, so we'll see.
This is around like Cabin Fever time, right? Like this
exactly.
Is
yep.
Yeah, like Rest Stop and those movies were coming out and stuff like that.
It was a really weird time because it was post Scream, teen horror, like all that stuff had dried up. I Know What You Did Last Summers, and horror didn't really have an identity at the time. So it was like wasn't sure what it was going to be. They're doing a lot of remakes of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Hills Have Eyes, which is kind of Wrong Turn is kind of like Hills Have Eyes in a way with the crazy hillbilly cannibals.
Well, this was peak direct to DVD time, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
This is like no name hot actors in horror sequels that weren't going to go to theaters, but they had brand recognition. So they would go straight to DVD and people would buy them. They do really well. It's like this is how you get like 4 or 5 Poison Ivy movies. People have heard of Poison Ivy.
I love that you brought that up because Poison Ivy 3, The New Seduction with Jamie Presley, best one you've ever seen. I mean, it's got Alyssa Milano, Drew Barrymore starred in one, but
Jamie Presley is fantastic in that movie.
Amazing.
Jesus Christ. The
eye-opening experience for a young man in the late 90s.
The one chick whose name I can't remember anymore is in one of those Poison Ivies too. And gosh, she used to be so fun.
Wasn't Icebox from Little Giants in one at one point? Wasn't there was a big scandal? I think I've seen pervier than usual because I remember that, but I remember there being a big scandal because the chick that played Icebox in Little Giants grew up and was in that movie showing T's and Taz. I gotta look it up now. I forget her name. It's like Drew Barrymore starred in the first one, Alyssa Milano in the second one, Jamie Presley in the third one, Miriam McDonald in Secret Society, which came out in 2008, and that was the one that Icebox was in. Shauna Wilson is the actress's name. And
really?
Yeah.
Okay, now what is it that I'm thinking of then? With
there was another. The Wild Things series had a bunch of sequels as well.
Yeah, no, all these things had sequels. I mean, Jesus Christ, God, what was her name? It's gonna blow me if I don't figure out her name. Hey, Susan Ward.
Oh, that was a weird phrase to use while we're talking about Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Susan Ward. Oh, The In Crowd. Had to be the In Crowd, right?
Yes, the In Crowd. Yes, Susan Ward from the In Crowd. Absolutely. Yes, she's definitely one.
I remember that one, and I'm still amazed she didn't get more stuff. The biggest thing she was in was Shallow Hal after that, and she is an astounding looking woman. I was amazed that even just on her look, she didn't get more roles. But
Susan Ward.
Yeah,
Susan Ward was incredible, and she was. I'm just gonna put it out there. She was thick as hell. Yeah, she was
dummy thick with 2 C's, as the kids are saying these days. Oh man! So welcome to Pervert Hour with Punch Drunk Critics. We're talking about all the erotic movies from the '90s that you want to watch. I don't even know how we got on Poison Ivy, but here we are. Yeah. So we got a ton of movies to talk about. One, speaking of the '90s, biggest action star of the '90s, arguably. Who do you think was the biggest action star of the '90s?
Biggest action star of the '90s, Steven Seagal.
Steven, really?
Who I was thinking of?
Huh?
Jodie Lynn O'Keefe.
Oh yeah. She Halloween H2O was where I first came to see her.
Okay, that's why I was thinking. That's why I couldn't think of it. It was Devil in the Flesh 2.
In the first one, Devil in the Flesh 1 starred Rose McGowan, didn't it?
Yes. That's why I couldn't. I knew it was one of those sequels to a probably not a very good thriller / horror movie.
Yeah.
And then the sequels, my buddy Jeff and I used to call it. We used to make up a fake company for it. They were called the Unofficial Sequel Company, and they would just put out sequels to movies that had brand recognition, but they were never going to go into a theater. So you get like The Order 3 or stuff like that.
American Psycho 2 starring Mila Kunis. And fun fact for the audience, I'm sure you know this, but fun fact for the audience, 90% of those sequels were not written as sequels. They were just some script they saw that had some kind of weird similarity that they slopped the title on.
Like Cruel Intentions 2 and 3.
Right, exactly.
Cruel Intentions 2 is actually my favorite of the trilogy.
I've never watched any of the sequels.
But it was basically a pilot for a series that was called Manchester Prep. That was going to be like based on Cruel Intentions. That's where the story takes place, in Manchester Prep.
Didn't that show actually happen though at some point? Or
I don't think so.
No.
I don't think.
Amy Adams was in that.
Yeah, Amy Adams was in that.
Nice.
And Carrie Lynn Pratt, who's still really high on my list, although she hasn't done anything in a long time, as far as I know. Yeah, and then Cruel Intentions 3 was it barely has any. It has the loosest possible connections, like the first movie.
It takes place in New York, and that's it.
It's always like, and once you get to the third movie, it's like some distant cousin.
Yeah.
Of one character from the first movie. It's like a cousin of Sarah Michelle Gellar's character. It's like
that's what I never got. They don't just they don't have a sequel that just it continues the theme. You don't have to have a personal, but every single one of these, it's always some weird personal connection through a lineage somewhere that doesn't need to be made in order to have the movie.
Yeah. So crazy. I kind of miss those times, honestly.
I do too.
I mean, those weren't great movies, and Hollywood was still kind of feeling its way through the direct to DVD stretch. But now everything just sort of comes out, and you're just like, whatever. You don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah,
but
I mean, that's the thing about
discovering those movies, like going into the place and being like, "Wild Things 2, really?"
Yeah.
And then getting it.
that's the thing about the whole pandemic, and we're all super psyched that HBO Max is releasing all these movies directly to streaming and all that, but it takes some of this. I don't know if it's because there's less marketing or what, but it takes some of the mystique or whatever away from some of the bigger releases. They don't feel as special.
We're never going to have the fun of going to a Blockbuster anymore and walking through the horror thriller section of the Blockbuster and plucking something off the shelf that catches your eye. We're never going to have that experience anymore, which is sad. Honestly. It's sad.
The kids watching this, it's not the same as scrolling through Netflix. It's a feeling that you can't really describe unless you did it. You walk into this world of endless possibilities, walking up and down the aisles, looking at the most ridiculous but beautifully hand-drawn covers for the movies you've never heard of. Everybody's got like 10 or 11 VHS covers that are stuck in their brain that they remember from being a kid. Like I remember the cover for Dolly Dearest. And there's a bunch of them like that I just distinctly remember the covers for them. There's no feeling like that in the world.
Yeah, no, we're those days are gone, and that's the thing that sucks about the digital age, man. You're just never gonna have that feeling anymore. I miss those stores.
For sure. Yeah.
I miss those stores, going into those places, because some places had better DVD, some places had better stuff.
Yeah.
Some places just had better things. Like if you want to a Blockbuster, yeah, you're gonna get some good stuff. But it was like the stores that were kind of off the beaten path.
Yeah, the mom and pops. Yeah, you could find the old Dario Argento horror movies and things like that.
They might have some gelato shit. That's not gelato. Giallo.
Gelato.
Gelato is a very different thing. Giallo shit that you've never seen before. I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff, man. I miss those days. There's no discovery anymore.
I mean, the feeling of getting to Blockbuster at 7:30, terrified on a Friday night that you weren't going to get Titanic, and seeing that last copy that you picked up, nothing like it in the world. Both, by the way, the copies of Titanic, huge, because it was 2 tapes, kids. 2 tapes.
Such a great way to...
You had to switch tapes midway through the movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
Well, so the reason I asked about the biggest action star of the 90s, I would go... I mean, he's got to be at least top 5 is Nicolas Cage, right? Which is the most unlikely person in the 80s. If you were to say, hey, next decade, biggest action star, Nicolas Cage. But you got Con Air, The Rock. We're a long way from those movies. But...
Are we?
We're well...
Let's be perfectly honest. Let's be perfectly honest. If Face Off was made today, it would go straight to VOD.
Mm-hmm.
It would be no different than any of the other wacky Nicolas Cage movies that he's making right now.
Yeah, I mean, I say all the time that's what those movies all but died for a few years. And Netflix has started bringing it back.
The only reason that movie feels different is because it's old. It was before the time we're in now. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Nicolas Cage was a bigger star back then. That's the only reason why. There's no other reason why. If that movie came out now, we'd be laughing at it and joking about it and like it's ridiculous. You know, it would be exactly the same. He made a lot of insane stuff back then too. I don't think he's changed that much, except in the frequency with which he does it.
Yeah, he has like 47 movies a year. But another thing that I think at least is uniquely our generation is the terrifying experience of going to a Chuck E. Cheese, or even worse, one of the off-brand Chuck E. Cheeses that have these terrible, not up to technology standards animatronic characters that sing songs for you and wish you happy birthday while you're there playing and eating your dry, crusty pizza. Well, Willy's Wonderland, which came out this weekend, and a lot of people have been talking about, combines those two things, Nicolas Cage and terrifying animatronics. And basically you get, about an hour and a half, a little bit under an hour and a half of Nicolas Cage fighting bloodthirsty animatronics.
And he doesn't say anything. He's totally wordless the entire movie. So we're talking about that. What else are we talking about this week on this show?
To All the Boys I've Loved Before. No, wait. It's To All the Boys. It's To All the Boys 3. I forget.
To All the Boys Always and Forever.
There you go.
Okay, now first of all, why are we talking about that?
I don't know. It came out this weekend.
You saw it.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It came out. There wasn't much that came out.
Did you watch the first two?
No. I didn't really. I watched most of the first one. I caught a little bit of the second one. And I watched all of this one.
So why are we talking about this one? You're not invested in Laura Jean and Peter. So why are we talking about this?
I mean, if we're only talking about movies I'm invested in, it's gonna be a short show every week. I can watch a movie and tell you if it's good or not without being invested.
But in the case of To All the Boys, and we're talking about the third and final movie in the trilogy, you would think you would have to have had some investment in the characters in the story to want to talk about the third one. I mean, I've seen them all. I've seen all three, and I'm not ashamed to say I like all three a lot.
It was surprisingly good.
Which surprises nobody more than me. Because as I said on Facebook the other day, I watched the first one intending to hate watch it. I only watched it because everybody was talking about how good it was. And I was like, I'm sure it's not very good, but I'll watch it anyway and review it and probably shit on it. I didn't want to shit on it, but I expected to. And I instantly liked it, instantly fell in love with it. And then the second one isn't as good, but it's fine. It's still fine. And then this third one, I think, is the best of the three so far. It's It's really, really good, like legitimately good. So yeah,
I mean that's why we're
I'm
talking
more
about it.
surprised that we're talking about it than anything else. Like, why I didn't come in expecting to talk about To All the Boys 3. But hey, whatever.
Hey, you know what? Let's just be honest. We're not hyper masculine movie watchers all the time. I think both of us have some stuff that's out there. I mean, number one, my main impetus for watching this is my wife's a huge fan of all the high school like type movies and shows and all that stuff. So she's into it. So I'm gonna watch it with her. But I also like a lot of that stuff too. I mean, a lot of the cheesy. I mean, I actually watched the entire series run of a show called Make It or Break It that was on Freeform. Now I watched it. My wife was watching. I watched it with her, but it's about teenage gymnasts in a competitive Olympic training school. So this stuff is good if it's written right. It's fun to watch. It's nothing deep or.
Well, now I know why you watched it.
No, I mean these girls were actually kids. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not fessing to that one. No.
Okay. Now, fine. I get why you watched it now. It's fine. I understand.
But the movie was good. It was. I enjoyed watching it. Like I said, I watched the first one once a long time ago. I watched bits of the second one, so I didn't really know how we got here. But
years away from that gymnast show really quickly when I got into why you actually want to watch it.
I watched it because my wife was watching it, not because of a bunch of preteen gymnasts, you weirdo.
You watched it for the same reason I watched Stick It.
No, actually, you want to know what? Let's bring it all around. You know who was in that show? Susan Ward. She was the mom of one of the gymnasts in that. And I think that's why I felt really old when I watched it. It came out 10 years ago, and she played one of the moms.
It's super depressing.
Yeah. She played a really good white trash Colorado mom. So now that we're all depressed...
I'm depressed at thinking of Susan Ward as a mom.
Yeah, I know, man. We're old. There's no question about that, for sure.
All right, let's get serious now.
I'm trying to.
Bullshitting around for the first 20 minutes of the show here. All right, so we're talking about those. We're talking about those two movies: Willy's Wonderland, To All the Boys. We should have already probably talked about them by now, but it's already. And you saw. Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar, which I did not see because I don't want to watch it. Or I didn't even ask for a screener for it. I gave it to Cortland to do, and I was like, I kind of want to watch it, but I was like, oh, it's $20. No, I don't want to watch it. And then we also got to talk about some stuff that happened in the news this week too. The whole Gina Carano thing we got to talk about because she's an idiot. She's an idiot person. So we got to talk about that. WandaVision, of course, the latest episode of that came out this week, and there was something else that I had on the docket for this week too that I sent you. I can't.
Let's see the docket. WandaVision, obviously, Face Off, Gina Carano, Tom Holland, Jared Leto's Joker, obviously the Justice League trailer that just dropped a few hours ago.
All that. Yeah, we're not gonna get to all that, obviously. Was it about Jared Leto? What about him?
Justice League stuff from Jared Leto.
Oh.
You said maybe Jared Leto's Joker.
Oh, yeah. Well, we don't really need to do that because he's in the trailer that came out today. Yeah. We can just combine those two. We're not planning on getting around to all that. So we'll see what happens. Let's go ahead and start. Let's start with
forget. I thought we started 20 minutes ago. But forget.
But you got us talking about unofficial sequels. And then you started talking about teen gymnasts.
I was talking about To All the Boys 11 before. You took it somewhere else and said, "Why are you watching that movie? Why would you watch that movie?" So I had to explain myself.
You did, but you didn't have to.
I tried to start. We're going to rewatch this, everybody, next week. The first section. So next week we're going to rewatch the first part of this one, and we're going to prove me right.
You didn't have to start raving about teen gymnasts.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Willy's Wonderland. Was it a throwaway? Straight to video crazy movie, or was it stupid fun? It can
it be both?
Yeah, absolutely, it can be both. But it can be just a stupid movie that tries to be something it's not and is too serious. It wasn't that. This was very much, very very much like an '80s feeling movie. You know what I mean? Like everything about it felt '80s. Cage is I know it's played out to say so, but I just love his insaneness and how much he chews the scenery and goes right for everything. To see him just beating the shit out of an animatronic giant chicken with a bat or was it a bat or an axe is something I know I needed to see this week, and it just felt so good to see it.
Willy's Wonderland is interesting. Like I said, he plays a drifter who gets stuck in this town, and to pay off a debt to fix his car. He takes a job working overnight as a custodian at a place called Willy's Wonderland, which is like a Chuck E. Cheese or a Showbiz Pizza type.
Showbiz Pizza. I haven't heard that in forever.
Yeah. So it's like one of those kind of places. And basically, as soon as he gets locked in there, the animatronics come alive, and try to kill him. Now, what's funny about it is, like I said, one, he's wordless throughout the entire movie. Never says a word. Never says anything. His character is never shocked by the fact that he's been attacked by these things either. Like there's at no point in time is his character ever scared by it. Mm-hmm. Like the first time it happens, he just reacts to it and kills the thing. And there's no moment of shock about the fact that he's being attacked. Which the movie goes all out of its way to make his character, I would say this is Nicolas Cage basically playing the Nicolas Cage that his fans see more than almost any other movie that he's done. Because at no point in time is he ever scared of any of this stuff. Like none of it ever. He's
like, this has happened before. I know what situation I'm in.
He's always a badass. He's always a little bit off kilter. Like the thing about his character that I liked so much, because he doesn't say anything, so you don't really learn anything about him. He's just this high plains drifter dude. Is that he will dutifully, not only does he dutifully clean the place, despite the fact that he's being attacked by these things all the time. He's still doing the job, but he always takes his breaks. Like he always takes his break, has a pop, and plays some pinball. And it's just this weird little quirk that you could see like Nicolas Cage having. And I think that's what this movie is trying to be more than anything else. It is Nicolas Cage. It is Nicolas Cage if he were fans' perceptions of Nicolas Cage if he were really fighting animatronics. More so than him playing a character, which is why the character has no name. The character has no name at all. He's just janitor, listed as janitor.
Yeah.
So I believe they're trying to make him the stand-in literally for Nicolas Cage. And that is fine. That's probably the best hook for the movie because the actual kills are pretty repetitive. I found like they're not shot particularly well. The budget, you can see them straining on the budget as such as it probably was. You can see them straining on it. And there are pretty much no characters to really care about other than him. And you could barely care about him other than the fact that it's Nicolas Cage. So there's not a whole lot to it other than that. If you love Nicolas Cage, then you're probably going to love this movie. And if you don't care about Nicolas Cage, you have zero reason to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, essentially the whole thing is based on a like a Child's Play type situation where you had a bunch of serial killers that did a satanic ritual and now they're animatronics. And honestly, I think you're onto something there. I think the movie would have actually been made better if it had been Nicolas Cage instead of being a janitor that needs to fix his car. Just have it be Nicolas Cage. Doing what a Nicolas Cage would do. You could definitely see him doing a cross-country trip on a motorcycle or something. And then he gets a flat tire, walks down the street to this Chuck E. Cheese that's all by itself, and all this shit ensues. That would almost be better. It's a lot of fun, as long as you know what it is, and I don't know how you couldn't know what it is going into it. But you did mark something else that I was a little disappointed in, was something that's got such an out there concept. You'd think it would have a lot of creative kills. That's the money of horror movies. If you can do nothing else as long as you get the kills right. Now you can have a great horror movie with mediocre kills, but that seems like where you want to put all your attention. And they were pretty standard neck breaking, face smashing type deals. But it was. I mean, I still had a lot of fun with it.
It is fun, but you should go in knowing this is not one of the crazy Nick Cage works with an auteur type things. It's not like when he does Bad Lieutenant with Werner Herzog or something like that. It's not like Prisoners of the Ghostland where he's with Cian Sono or something like that. It's nothing like that where he does crazy and an auteur filmmaker builds a wacky movie around his craziness. It's not like that. This is very kind of functional more than anything else. It's fine. I mean, I've been using that word functional a lot for certain movies because it's been,
I mean, it makes sense.
certain movies have been really sort of functional. What was another movie that I watched recently that felt that way, and I can't think what it was. Oh, it was a movie I watched last night called Silk Road, which is, I think that comes out maybe next week. I got here's my review. It's functional, and it's about the guy who created the Silk Road. The dark web for drugs and basically like that. And it's fine, but it's like there's not much else to it other than the fact that it gets the job done.
Right.
Which I think this movie does. It gets the job done. If you like Nicolas Cage killing puppets and whatever, then yeah, it's fine. It does that for you.
Right. Malcolm in the Middle was not a 90s show, was it?
I'm pretty sure it was, wasn't it?
I could have sworn it was early 2000s, but we should be in the 90s this week in WandaVision, episode 6.
Are we on WandaVision already? We're not talking about Barb and Star, or...
I don't really want to talk about Barb and Star. I didn't like it.
You're the only one of us who saw it, so you need to talk about it. I didn't see it.
All right, it's about two small town girls that leave their town for the first time in their lives, and...
You're going to skip past all the reviews. It was Willy's Wonderland and something else, too.
Yeah, it was To All the Boys, and you said you didn't want to talk about it.
I didn't say that at all. I asked why you wanted to talk about it.
You're on some other stuff today, my friends.
I didn't do anything. I honestly, I never said I didn't want to talk about it. I just said I was surprised that we were. Because
I know, but I was trying to, I was in the middle of trying to talk about it earlier, and we skipped over.
You never said anything about these movies before. So it was a little bit odd to suddenly come in here and wanted to talk about To All the Boys.
I mean, it's not like I was shouting, putting on Instagram, can't wait to talk about All the Boys this weekend.
I think
it's a movie that came out.
But I think the other two movies I may have talked about on this show before. Maybe it might have been when I was doing just my show.
Which two?
The To All the Boys shows.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that would have been when in between the last time we did the Punch Drunk group thing.
They pretty much come out like one a year, so they've twisted maybe even more than that. I think because they've been pretty fast in this trilogy.
Well, so To All the Boys.
Like I said, I was just surprised because
I'm just confused. Honestly, at this point, I'm just confused. To All the Boys That Loved Before review starting now. So, well, you've seen all three of them. You can go ahead and give the rundown.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to. So this is the final movie in the To All the Boys trilogy, and they've really sped through these, which I guess I understand. The last one, I think they did these last two back to back, if I remember right. So in this one, this is probably the most mature of the three, which you would expect it should be. It should evolve in that way. Laura Jean, played by Lana Condor, if I remember her as Jubilee from the X-Men movies. She's in her senior year. She and Peter are still together. They're now more of a couple than ever before. I joked in my review that Peter has finally found the thing that he can't out-smile into defeat, and that is adulthood and New York City. So in this one, they are prepared to go to Stanford together, go away to college together, but that gets all disrupted when she doesn't get into the same school that he does. And then she falls in love with New York. She goes away to New York. They go on a school trip to New York, and she falls in love. And she decides she wants to go to NYU instead, which will put them on opposite ends of the country. So they're facing their first serious test that isn't just some boy or some embarrassing mix-up or something along those lines. There's nothing like that this time. This is a real issue. This movie, to me, like I said, it's the most mature by far. And what I like about it is that it's told completely in her perspective for the most part. And it gives Laura Jean the chance to actually make a decision for herself and not just do the thing that keeps their relationship together. Not just do whatever you feel like is supposed to happen, right? This is the thing that she actually makes an active choice for herself. And when we see Peter, and Peter's still a great guy. It's hard not to like Peter. And I usually tend to want to go in these movies wanting to hate the dude because they're usually too perfect or whatever.
Right.
and he is still far more perfect than most guys would be. But his perspective in this one is of someone who doesn't want to see them break up ever. So he only sees it from that perspective, which means he's trying to control her. And the crux of the movie is her figuring out what's the right thing to do for her future, not just to make him feel better. And I think that's a real issue that couples have to go through a lot, especially at that stage of their lives. It's funny. All the movies are funny in the way that they show Laura Jean's inexperience with all this kind of stuff. She's still terrible at love. But I like that it focuses on her family as well and her heritage. They go to Korea at one point as well. Mm-hmm. I think this movie is really well done compared to the other ones. The other ones are good too, but this one is by far. They're going to go out, and this is going to be the final movie. I guess it's the final book as well. This is a real high note.
Yeah, I mean, again, as we covered earlier, I don't remember anything about the second one really. I watched the first one once, but I do remember the other two seem pretty. Generic's not the right word, but pretty formulaic, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's love conquers all. What can we do to, love is everything. I was kind of expecting the same thing out of this, and I was pleasantly surprised that it took more of a realistic approach to it. That hey, we're teenagers, or we're teenagers, and there are other things going on in our lives, and we do have other interests, and this isn't going to be the be-all, end-all of us, but still maintaining some romanticism about the whole thing. And, yeah, I mean, to use your word, I thought it was fine. it didn't blow my socks off or anything like that, but it was perfectly sweet. It was funnier than I expected it to be honest with you. I thought a lot of times these Netflix, teenager-type movies, either I'm too old to get the jokes or they're just not that funny. But I did find myself laughing quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, it's a perfectly fine way to spend an hour and a half. I'm more concerned watching this as to whether or not Noah how do you say his name? Centineo?
Centineo or something.
Centineo, there you go. If that Masters of the Universe movie is still happening, because he needs to be bulking up. If so, he's a little fella. He can't be Prince Adam. He can't be He-Man like that.
I don't know how that whole thing's going to work. Honestly, I have no idea.
You don't know if it's still happening, or you don't know how he'll do?
Well, both. Yeah. I don't know how he would do, and I don't know if that movie's ever actually going to happen. It seems like they're always saying it's going to happen, then it never does.
Yeah.
But I assume it will someday. I don't know if he'll be in it by that point, but we'll see. He's doing the Black Adam movie next anyway. So.
Yeah, but I mean, He-Man. So I mean, if that comes out, look, I mean, I heard some pretty interesting takes on how to do it.
I'm much more interested in seeing him in Black Adam than I am in He-Man. That's for sure.
Well, I think the reason I'm interested in He-Man is because you could take it to a very cheesy place. Look at the '80s movie with Dolph Lundgren, Frank Langella as Skeletor, if you can believe that. But I heard a couple, not treatments, but people describing how a theatrical, a feature film version, live action feature film of Masters of the Universe could be made, and it's actually an amazingly interesting concept, blending sword and sorcery with high technology, and it's like Conan meets Star Wars, the way it was described, and it seemed like something that could be done really, really well by the right person with the right crew behind them. I know that it's a pipe dream to think that's going to actually happen, but the possibility out there has me wanting to see what they do with it.
Was technology a thing in He-Man? Because I don't remember that.
Well, yeah, because they had like hovercrafts. They were most of it was completely sword and sorcery, but then at the same time, like Man at Arms had tanks and like futuristic hovercrafts and flying machines and stuff like that. There was futuristic stuff sprinkled throughout.
Oh, okay, I don't remember any of that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 40-year-old commercial for a toy now that we all watched for half an hour every day. So
I have almost zero interest in Masters of the Universe. I kind of wish they would just leave it alone.
Yeah,
I keep making comics, whatever, for it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care to see a Masters of the Universe movie. I don't give a shit if they ever get it done. So,
right on.
Very, very limited concept to me, and it's not that. It was never my favorite when I was a kid anyway. I mean, I own plenty of the toys, but I own plenty of everything, even shit I didn't like. So,
yeah. All right. So Barb and Star. It's basically about.
Let's hear about Barb and Star. It's 2:48. You got 5 minutes. Let's go.
Well, we started 15 minutes late. Let's not forget that. Barb and Star, starring Kristen Wiig, Annie Mamulo, Jamie Dornan, Damon Wayans Jr. It's about two women who leave their town for the first time ever, and their adventures out. Fortune Feimster?
Fortune Feimster, yeah.
I can't pronounce anybody's name, apparently. Surprisingly, I thought she was the best part of this movie. It seemed like it was trying to be
impossible because my future ex-wife Vanessa Bayer is in it.
Yeah, she wasn't that good.
That's a lie. But go ahead.
I mean, she was great. She was the best part of it. Past that,
because there's never a time where she's not good. So you're lying. Your review is invalid, but you go ahead and finish it anyway.
Okay. So essentially, the whole thing felt like it was a Saturday Night Live skit stretched into a movie that shouldn't have been done. It's not that it was bad. It was just very.
That sounds like it was bad.
It does sound like it was bad.
You said it shouldn't have been done, so it does sound like it's bad.
Well, I mean, not necessarily, because you can do something that you shouldn't have bothered doing, but it can still be slightly entertaining for an hour and a half. You're not going to be completely bored. You are going to laugh a few times.
I feel like I'm picking on you a lot today, and I'm not trying.
You are actually. I muted you for the audience like a half hour ago. So
I'm not trying to pick on you. But if you're reviewing a movie and you say it feels like a sketch that shouldn't have been done, and then you say, but it's not bad, I'm going to be like, what? I don't know.
That's a very topical approach to it. I mean, you got to dig into the surface. You got to hear what I'm going to say. I mean, you can have so Night of the Roxbury the movie.
Did you like the movie or not?
Night of the Roxbury the movie shouldn't have been done, but it was kind of fun to watch for an hour and a half. You watch it one time, forget about it, and never go back to it. That's what Barb and Star felt like. It felt like they were trying to be more progressive and topical and maybe even edgy, but never quite getting there. It felt like what two older people trying to be cool to teenagers would have done, if that makes sense. So it was fine. I wasn't bored. Laughed quite a few times. Like seeing Kristen Wiig all the time. Annie Mamulo, I don't remember ever seeing her in anything before. She plays Barb. She was actually pretty funny. But
you don't remember her from Bridesmaids?
No, I only watched Bridesmaids once.
Or pretty much anything that Kristen Wiig has done, because they not only did they write this, but they both wrote Bridesmaids and were in it. And Annie Mamulo is. I don't know. You should just go look her up.
Maybe I'm just blind to her or something. I don't know. But I don't. I'm looking at her IMDb now, and she's been in a bunch of stuff, but I don't. First thing I remember from. So it was okay. You could find something better to watch.
She doesn't read very often, so maybe that's why. She's usually a supporting character, or I guess she usually pops up and stuff with Kristen Wiig, and they tend to write stuff together. It's like
honestly, if you want to watch SNL alums having fun together. Right before Oscars, it's probably the best idea to go watch Palm Springs if you haven't already seen it. Totally different movie, kind of the same feel, much, much better. So that is Barb and Star. And that's all we had this week. Were there any other movies that came out?
I mean, I reeled off a bunch of them at the beginning of the show that came out this week.
There's all the other little, no major films, right?
I mean, I guess all the ones I'd mentioned would be major films. Judas and the Black Messiah came out this week.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, though.
Yeah, we did.
I don't think so. I don't think Cowboys can be considered like a major film.
It's not. The World to Come came out this week. That's a major film.
Young Hearts, not a major film.
Map of Tiny Perfect Things is decent sized film.
Well, here, let's do it this way. Are there any of these you want to talk about?
French Exit came out this week with Michelle Pfeiffer. Might get her an Oscar nomination. That came out this week. The Mauritanian with Jodie Foster and Tahar Rahim and Benedict Cumberbatch and my other future ex-wife, Shailene Woodley.
You're going to have a lot of alimony payments.
Soon to be the ex-wife of Aaron Rodgers, I guess, apparently. Yeah.
I thought he was married to Kristen Cavallari.
That's
That's
that dude no.
It's not. I could have sworn it was. So the good thing is we're not going to talk about any of those movies, but you can read about them all at punchdrunkcritics.com. That's our website. You check it out every single day for all the latest. If you haven't been there today yet, you'll want to go now because we've got the Justice League Snyder Cut full trailer posted, which we'll talk about now. And it just enforces the things that I think make DC subpar to Marvel. There's a lot of good stuff in here, but why is it every DC movie has to look otherworldly? The thing about Marvel is people can relate to it better, not just because the characters are more relatable, but the world itself looks like where we live. I've yet to watch a DC movie that looks like the regular world, especially Zack Snyder's version. There's always those weird color palettes. There's these weird shots. There's bad CG that takes you out of the movie. Even Darkseid, who admittedly looks pretty cool in this trailer, is still crappy CGI. And I don't understand how nobody in the process of producing, making, or directing any of these movies has stopped and said, hey, guys, have you looked at Marvel and how good their stuff is? Why does ours look like it was made with Play-Doh? Maybe we should go to a different company or do something differently. They just, $70 million for the Snyder Cut, and the CG still looks like shit. I don't get it. And it takes you out of it, and it's... I don't have a lot of hope for the Snyder Cut, but I do have a lot of hope for it. I have hope for it being a better movie than the Whedon Cut, but not being a great movie because it just doesn't look good.
I don't know. I don't see the bad CGI yet. I think I need to watch the movie before I can make that judgment. But I don't know I don't know what to think. Like I'm excited for it. It's 4.5 hours long, so I mean, it's obviously a very different movie than the 2017 version, which we already knew.
Well, it was supposed to be a two-parter in the first place, right?
No.
So essentially, he just made a two-part movie.
We wanted to do two movies at first, yeah, but they made him do one.
So he made one 4-hour movie instead of two 2-hour movies.
Well, no, I mean, they made him do one back in 2017, which wasn't going to be 4 hours. It was only going to be 2. But now they've given him, free reign to do whatever he wants. I'm excited to see what he always wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Because Lord knows he's promised a lot.
Yeah.
I said before he can't possibly follow through on all of it. Because if he does, even if he does, it won't be good because there's just too much stuff.
Yeah.
At the same time, man, he does really great trailers.
He does.
One of the things that, because this trailer got me really pumped for it. But at the same time, I feel differently because the trailers for the 2017 movie were great too.
Yeah.
But the problem there was the disconnect there was that he did all these great trailers for the 2017 movie. And I'll never forget watching the first trailer at Comic-Con that one year because that got the, whatever. And Suicide Squad's the same way. But you have this promise that he's making this promise in these trailers, and then he didn't even get to do the final version of it. So it felt underwhelming. And that was the main thing that I took away from the 2017 movie was that it felt underwhelming. Like it felt small. It didn't feel like the epic movie that we were being promised.
Right. Nowhere near Endgame or anything like that.
I can at least guarantee that this one won't feel small.
Yeah, I'd say that's. I mean, and there's a whole other angle to it all.
It'll feel as he always wanted it to feel because it'll be him doing it and not Joss Whedon.
Right, and with all the Joss Whedon stuff coming out, and then Zack Snyder has become like this underdog type that's winning, that everybody's getting behind, which is funny to me because I remember. Not long ago, everybody hated Zack Snyder and they wanted to crucify him for making these movies. And they were so excited about everybody was on Joss Whedon's side. And then, the Joss Whedon stuff starts coming out. Now it's flipped. So there's that angle too where people love an underdog story. We want to see him succeed.
I think you're overstating it a little bit because I don't think very many people are rooting for Zack Snyder. I think people are rooting for this movie to be a disaster.
I think I would disagree. I mean, I see a lot of the buzz, a lot of the people talking about it are excited about it and saying, it would, release the Snyder Cut wouldn't be trending if people thought it would be a disaster.
Right, but it was just his fans. It was just his fans. I mean, he has a diehard group of fans, and those people are very loud on social media. But he ain't got no huge following of fans. That's one thing he doesn't have. He's never had a blockbuster movie. Like he never had a movie that was like a gigantic hit. He's never had one. All his movies, he's done some that have done well, but those movies have also underperformed, like Batman vs Superman, which should have been the biggest movie ever made, and it wasn't by far. And Justice League, all his movies underwhelmed.
Just because it was made 10 years too early. That should have been a penultimate movie, not a second movie.
I totally agree with you. But I feel like his fans are super pumped for this movie. Mm-hmm. As someone who's been pretty much on Zack Snyder's side for his entire career, I'm super excited for the movie. I want it to be great. I really do. I want it to be great.
I love visual filmmakers. That's why I've always liked Michael Bay. I not even visual. I should say obviously visual. The people that go for the easy shots to get emotions stirred inside you. I've always liked those type of filmmakers. Maybe it's just because I'm dumb, but if you show F-16 flying over with
you are a Michael Bay movie fan.
Well, yeah, I am, and I'm a Zack Snyder movie fan too. And what I'm saying is
they're in the same ballpark. That's
exactly what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they're two similar filmmakers. They use very obvious and very distinctive visual choices in their films. And, Snyder, on the other hand, I'm getting kind of tired of his... He doesn't switch it up nearly enough. I mean, he's dropped the slow-mo thing for the most part, but, the slow orchestral music, the choir music, that can work once for Watchmen and just leave it. Every trailer that comes out, even the new Justice League trailer is not as, amazing grace as the other ones, but... and all this sounds like I'm shitting on it, but the truth is, I do really want to see this, and I'm really excited about it. So,
yeah, I'm give us a screener for it, because I really want to watch it.
Yeah,
early. I want to watch it now, actually. So I really like that trailer. I mean, I really did. I'm pissed that they spoiled what Jared Leto's Joker is doing in the movie. Like he spoiled it. He spoiled it in an interview, and I didn't post that on the site. When I posted the images of Jared Leto's Joker the other day, I didn't put that in there because it was
just that he's part of the nightmare sequence, or what do you mean?
Yeah, they shouldn't have spoiled that.
Yeah,
because nobody knew that. Nobody knew why he was there. They shouldn't have put that in there, and they shouldn't have put that part in the trailer either. Why spoil that? It's one of the surprises. People want to know why he's in there. Make them watch the movie to find out. I thought that was dumb.
I mean, that's a plague in Hollywood. They just get too excited about their own shit, or they get nervous that people aren't going to watch the movie, so they release something that you just have to see. I mean, I'll never forget that, was it Terminator, which one was it? I think it was Terminator Salvation, maybe, where you had no idea that Schwarzenegger was going to be in it, and then at the very end, the T-800, Arnie's young face, and they threw the shit in the trailer. They've been doing that for years, and it's stupid. Yeah. That being said, this Joker I do like quite a bit more. He's not a pimp for one, but I always thought that Leto's Joker. I think if we had gotten more time with him, then we would have liked him a lot more. I think visually they made mistakes, but I think if anybody, Leto is probably really capable of making that. A very distinctive and memorable character. And I think if we'd gotten more time with him and actually seen him do a little bit more, we would have gotten that. So I'm also disappointed that he's only in the nightmare scene because you will get a little bit more, I guess, but we won't get any character development. We won't get to make him a distinctive Joker.
Right. Which I guess we shouldn't really expect. It's just
No, it's not his movie.
Not a Batman versus Joker movie. So I guess we shouldn't expect that. But the Joker thing feels like when I talked about all the stuff that he wants to cram in there because he can. The Joker thing feels like it's part of that because it doesn't seem like there's any logical reason for there to, or any real storyline, narrative reason why you need to have this Batman and Joker confrontation in a nightmare sequence of all places. It's like. It feels like Zack Snyder had this idea, and he's like, well, I can do it, so I'm just going to do it. And that's the way, like, if you've watched him for the last 2 years of teases about what he wanted to do with Justice League, it felt like a lot of ideas that he had that sounded cool. But none of it seemed like any of it would fit into any kind of coherent story whatsoever. It's like, oh, I wanted to have Green Lantern here. And it's like, Why? He's not in the movie. He's not in the story. Who cares? He's had these great ideas, and I have no doubt that he'll probably cram Green Lantern into this too. Like, in 4 hours, I'm sure he found 5 minutes to cram Green Lantern in there. But will it mean anything? No.
Well, and that's where guys like Zack Snyder and Michael Bay end up failing. Like they're increasingly awesome at finding things that will look cool, but they're not as skilled as getting things to support what the cool looking thing is. So they'll throw it up there, and you'll be hyped seeing it, but you feel empty afterwards because there's nothing behind it.
Bay is restrained compared to Zack Snyder.
Yeah,
Zack Snyder I don't know. Zack Snyder needs restraints put on him. Is what he needs, because he's a fanboy who likes playing in the sandbox so much that he'll put everything in there that he can think of.
Yeah, it's like the black suit Superman.
Michael Bay doesn't really play around with these kinds of fan properties so much.
Right.
I know that's funny coming from a guy who did a bunch of Transformers movies, but he made Transformers movies that weren't for fans at all. So that's why. So that's why it matters. But anyway, I don't know. Let's move on to the next thing. Let's talk about Gina Carano, because that's the next. That was the biggest story of the week by far. I think.
Okay.
It was just Gina Carano. Gina Carano got her ass fired from Star Wars. Got her ass fired from Disney. No longer on The Mandalorian. No longer going to be on Rangers of the Republic, or what we found out is that she may have even had a solo spinoff show just for her that was in the works, and that would have been announced in December when they made all those announcements. But Disney was skittish because of all the shit she had been saying. And Carano on social media has been, look, I love Gina Carano. Everybody knows by now that I got a serious thing for Gina Carano. She's made it very difficult to like her over the last few months with her transphobic comments, her spreading of conspiracy theories about the election, her anti-mask comments during a goddamn pandemic, all sorts of just dumb stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like, please shut up so that I can love you. But she wouldn't do it. And then this week she crossed the line. This is the line you don't ever cross in Hollywood. She made anti-Semitic comments, and Disney was like, that's it. That's the straw that broke the camel's back, and they fired her ass.
Well, it wasn't so much which is funny coming from Disney, a studio that's been supposedly historically anti-Semitic, but it's not. I mean, you could call it anti-Semitic, yeah, but she was basically. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see the original one, but what I understand is that she said being a Republican nowadays is like being a Jewish person in Germany in the 30s.
That is a piece of it, yeah, but that wasn't like the sole thing she said.
Oh, okay.
And even that by itself is bad enough, because it's obviously not true. It is very obviously not true, not in the least. But this is the sort of rhetoric. This is the sort of white grievance that led to the sort of attacks that we had on January 6th. This is the kind of rhetoric that we do not need, especially right now. And Disney was right to fire her ass for it. She deserved it. And of course, there's been people on the right who have screamed about cancel culture. And of course, it wasn't a day later that Carano herself was screaming about cancel culture. Mm-hmm. And signed up with the Daily Wire of all places, which is an extreme right outlet run by Ben Shapiro, who's just a supreme douchebag, snowflake, and they're starting their own little media empire now. At least they're trying to making movies. She signed up to make a movie with them, and I said, if it's not Haywire 2, then I ain't gonna watch it. Unless it's Haywire 2 and they got Steven Soderbergh to do it, then I ain't watching it. But this was huge. This is Disney making a decisive decision on a star who stepped over the line, and obviously it's set the internet on fire. What do you think about it?
I mean, it's tough to say. I mean, number one, the first thing I think is it never ceases to amaze me how these celebrities who know they're in the public eye continue to not just pay somebody to manage their Twitter and stay off of social media, and not do this. I do think, not to lessen anything she said or anything, but I think it gets to a point where there is, it needs to be applied fairly, and it needs to be applied. If we're going to start firing people and dropping them from their agents and canceling their careers and ending their life as they know it, it needs to be applied same to anybody. If you say something that's shitty about somebody else, then you get fired. I don't think that really happens. I'm not here to be like a right wing person or anything like that, but I mean, I think it's blatantly obvious that there are people that can say shit about some other people, or that they can say what they want to do, and they don't get the same thing applied to it.
I don't want to turn this into a massive back and forth political debate, but who are you talking about? Like, who are you talking about on the other side that's saying hateful stuff that deserves to be fired? Like, because
if you give me some time, because I'm not, the reason I never get into this stuff is I'm not the type of person to say things without evidence in front of me. But okay, we don't have to argue about. I mean, that there are people saying shitty things about other people. I mean,
that's not the same thing.
Okay.
If we're talking about somebody making fun of someone or making a joke about someone, that's very different than making transphobic comments. That's very different than that, which is what she did. That is one thing that she did. That's running down an entire group of people.
I thought it was shitty also that James Gunn was there liking tweets about her getting fired. Like, I don't really care.
I like tweets about her getting fired. Does that mean I should lose my jobs because of it?
Did you get fired by Disney a year or two ago for the same thing? I thought it was kind of hypocritical.
I don't understand what the James Gunn thing has to do with it. Like, James Gunn liking tweets about her getting fired. Who cares? What does that have to do with it?
Because he got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy for saying something, for making jokes about rape and child abuse. I mean...
Right. So his example proves your point that it is across the board.
Oh, that's right. Because he's not making Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
He got fired. He got fired from his job.
Yeah, he did.
Got fired for it. He got fired exactly the same way she did. The difference is he's apologized for it and tried to make amends for it. She has not. She has doubled down and made her situation worse. So if she gets told to fuck off again and never works again, that's on her. But he has made the effort to get back into the good graces of people, even his fans who he lost because he did that stuff. So there's a big difference. It's all about contrition. Right. And people make mistakes and say hurtful and hateful things to people, to about their fans. Because let's be honest, a lot of her fans she was running down with those comments.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk shit about your own fans like that, in ways like that, and you get fired, you deserve it. If you're not contrite, if you don't apologize, you don't try to make good on it, then you deserve everything you get. But I think if you do make the effort, make the attempt to try and make amends for what you did, you deserve another chance. And James Gunn got his chance. He earned it. He had to work for it back. He didn't just get it back.
Right.
So there's a big difference. And I hate it when people try to make this false equivalency. There is no equivalency. If you're a douchebag and you get fired, fuck you. Too bad. It's your fault.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. Period.
Yeah, no, I got you. That's why I started the whole thing with saying, "Hey, look, I'm not supporting or condemning anybody. I really don't care."
James Gunn proves the point that it is across the board. Because he got fired for something that he had said like 10 years previous. Gina Carano got fired for something she said like last week. And she had been saying for months. They let her get away with it for a long time, hoping she would stop. And I'm sure somebody told her, please shut up. And she wouldn't. I hate it because I like her so much. I like her. And the Cara Dune is my favorite character on The Mandalorian. So now what? Now no Cara Dune.
She's kind of boring.
She crashed in an X-Wing, and that's how she got stepped on by an AT-AT, and now she's gone from the show.
Right. Well, they're talking about replacing her and stuff. I don't know. Honestly, again, I really don't care. I don't know why people don't just stay off social media. I think it's pretty fucking stupid to go on there and say things left and right when you know that saying something, regardless of intention, and this isn't talking specifically about her situation, But I think she may be guilty as all hell, an evil person deserving to be burned at the cross. But I also am realistic enough to know that we are in the most fucking ridiculous, hip-shooting, quick-reacting, non-understanding place in history, probably, with all this stuff. And it really doesn't matter any of the stuff behind it a lot of the times with some of the stuff that comes out. You know, if somebody comes out, if anybody's going to sit here and try to tell me that people don't read headlines and immediately believe what they say, you're a fucking liar. Because that's what happens. I'm not saying that's the Gina Carano thing, and this really has not. That's why I started the whole thing with saying I'm not defending her or what happened. It's got to do about the whole thing. You know, this is probably a bad explanation because it is probably deserving in this case, but the hypocritical nature of people at large when we're talking about other people. These people that do the same thing, talk the same shit, say the same things about other races, cultures, creeds, whatever, and then when somebody else does it, and because they're in the public eye or something like that, then they're so fucking offended, and my heart's broken. It's just annoying to me. And that's all.
All right, what's next?
Next up is the end of the show.
Really? That's it?
That's all we got.
Yes. Oh. Okay. I guess what is more?
Oh, WandaVision. We got WandaVision.
We didn't talk about. I'll say we didn't talk about.
Oh, again, I tried to earlier. We are not on a vibe today. We got to have a pre-show next time because I started talking about WandaVision. You're like, wait, we got to go back to the reviews.
Well, we didn't just because we didn't finish the reviews. We had I knew we had 3 reviews, and then you wanted to end after one. Which
once this goes up on YouTube, I want you to rewatch it, and you'll see me trying to start reviewing movies, and you're Absolutely. Like, well, let's go talk about this instead.
Absolutely not. I'm not going to.
So, episode 6 of WandaVision came out. This was the Halloween episode that we saw teased in pretty much every trailer because it's got the wonderful moment of Vision wearing Vision and Scarlet Witch and their kids and Quicksilver, for that matter, all wearing their comics accurate outfits to one piece or another. Everything started getting real last episode, and now it's even more. So Vision's on to the game. He sees what's going on. He has. What did you think was going to happen when he left there's a scene where he's leaving the Hex. He wants to go out and get help. What did you think was going to happen when he walked through that thing?
I thought he was going to instantly die.
That's what I thought. I was like, he's going to walk through, turn gray, and his eyes are going to go white.
That's what I expected to happen. He would turn gray and die. And I kind of feel like if he had kept going, that would have happened. But he was never fully out of there.
I think if he kept going, he just would have ripped to shreds because little pieces of him started flying. And I didn't really understand that. Maybe that was saying that when he's in there, and if you guys have 15 hours, there's plenty of theories out there about every single second of this show. But part of what I got from that is that he doesn't exist outside the Hex. That's why he couldn't walk out like anybody else, like Wanda did, or like Rambeau did. Is that he's only resurrected in there. So once he leaves, there is no him.
That is entirely possible too. I didn't really think about that. That is possible. I didn't put as much theory work into this episode as I did other ones. I was I don't want to say that I thought this episode was bad because I didn't. I was still into it, but I feel like I was on such a high from the week before that this one felt kind of like coasting.
Yeah,
like the whole like it started off with like Malcolm in the Middle era single cam type show, right? I love that opening sequence, by the way, with him.
That was pretty cool. They've been nailing all the opening sequences. You got to give them that.
Those parts are great, but I feel like this was the one that was least committed to it. So, I feel like they got away from it fairly quickly, and kind of went into like standard territory, in terms of like stylistically, it's fairly well standard. I loved all the costume stuff. I like how they're stringing along this whole Quicksilver thing too. Because I still, even though I have as I said last week, I have my idea about what's going on with him really. They've got me interested enough that I'm not totally sure.
I'm actually leaning towards your theory that he's not really Quicksilver after this episode. Yeah, I think that's I like that they're setting up Monica Rambeau to get her powers. They tease that a little bit, saying that
being inside there had changed her, and going in and out of there had changed her DNA, basically.
Which gives us a new possible source for the X-Men or the mutants. The episode ends with her saving Vision by expanding the hex further than it was, and she only needed to go a couple feet, but she looked like she went miles out trying to get everybody. So if Monica Rambeau's DNA changed from and that's what a mutant is, or DNA change, it's mutated. She walked in and out, crossed that barrier, and that's mutated her. Then everybody that's inside there or everybody that gets crossover, it could be a mutant. If they go that way, I'm not really sure how I'll feel about that.
The thing that's weird is, see, like Monica, this is why there's such small distinctions between these characters in the Marvel Universe. Monica Rambeau is not a mutant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But her DNA has been changed, which is why she has her powers. It's the same thing for Carol Danvers. Her DNA has been changed. In the comics, her DNA has been changed. So this is how they have their powers, but they're not mutants.
Well, that's what I'm saying when I say that I don't know how I'd feel about that, because if that is the way they do it, which, I'm just taking a shot in the dark, but if that is the way they do it, then people aren't born with it. They were made by this event, and it would be totally different than anything that we did before.
I think they'll find a way to make a distinction between those. These people won't be mutants, but I think there will be characters that could emerge from this, that come out of different powers, who've been in there. So I won't be surprised if something like that happens. But I like that they set her up. And at this point, I want the spinoff show to be Jimmy Woo and Darcy and Monica Rambeau. I want it to be all three of them together.
Oh, hers. Oh, I did love when I always forget his name. The lead guy of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes in and he's like, "Oh, we got the main one and the sidekick. Where's the sassy friend?" And then Jimmy Woo comes in and says something, and that would be a good mix. I mean, Darcy and Jimmy Woo definitely, with Monica showing up every once in a while.
You'd be the muscle.
Yeah,
I mean, you have the agent, the tech person, and the muscle.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the classic trio, right? That would be the trio that you would want if you were to make a show. You'd want that trio. Mm-hmm. I would watch that show in a heartbeat if it were those three.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and they're going. I think it would be stranger. We ran a article last week about the possibility. Somebody pitched a Jimmy Woo X-Files like we had been talking about on the show the other week, and had a meeting for it. So a pitch meeting to see if that would happen. I think Marvel has seen that their big swings pay off. So they're going to be entertaining all kinds of different stuff like that, and that's really how you keep the growth and keep the interest in Marvel going. It's not by rehashing the same Avengers or Earth level threat every 4 years. It's by branching out and doing different things. And I think they're smart enough to do that. So I would love to see that, because it would also give you a great chance to highlight more C and D level heroes and villains as they're going around, finding out that the playing card man or whatever in Ohio is there, and you could even bring it into the Young Avengers with have them finding more Young Avengers as they're going around and bringing them in. So there's a lot of cool things they could do with it.
Very cool. A lot of cool stuff. So this was a fine episode, but I wasn't as emotionally attached to this episode. Like I said, this one felt like the bridge to the final 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like that. Okay, it was just chess pieces episode, moving some pieces around, and now we're the big thing. That's what this felt like to me, more than anything else.
So we still have to find out who Agatha Harkness, or Agnes, I guess in the movie, who her husband is that she's been referring to the whole time. Everybody's really big on that being something, because she keeps referring to her husband Rob, I think she calls him, and he has never been seen. And then in the trailers for the upcoming episodes, what?
Sitcom trope.
This is definitely a trope from earlier sitcoms, but also, is he the one behind it? Because Agatha Harkness, for anybody that doesn't know, is the one that trained Scarlet Witch in the comics. And then you also have a quick spot in one of the teasers for the upcoming episodes where Scarlet Witch and Vision are basically talking about, this is our place, we need to defend it. So is it Sword that's trying to come in and take them out, and Vision has decided to fight with Scarlet Witch, or is it another threat? I can't believe we're only 2 episodes left already.
It's crazy how fast shit goes, right?
It's crazy that we would be so anticipated for these 2-hour movies that come out, and we watch them and talk about them forever. But then we get 9 hours of television, and we're like, oh, it's not enough.
Yeah, I know.
It's a weird dichotomy we got going on there.
Yeah, I still want to watch these. Like when it's over, I still want to like binge all these episodes together.
Oh yeah, you almost have to, because there's going to be things that we didn't miss, didn't know the importance of. There's just too much going on. Even if you're watching these specifically with an eye for seeing Easter eggs or possible clues, you're not going to catch them all.
I feel like we're still due for like one big, huge reveal in these last 2 episodes. I feel like we're still due for one that maybe tops the Quicksilver thing. I feel like
and we have to get it too, right? Because the whole thing everybody said, it would be, I suppose it could be as cheaply done as a post-credit scene on the last episode, but this whole thing is supposed to tie into Multitude of Madness, or Multiverse of Madness. So you'd think they would build some kind of bridge leading up to that. So maybe that's it, or maybe the last 10 minutes of the last episode.
Yeah. Whatever they do, I'm here for it, though. I want to see it. I want to know what they're going to do, because I don't know how this whole thing is going to end, which is exciting. I mean, that's always fun. If Marvel's going to be like this, and for all their shows, and this is going to be an incredible year, because they got a lot of stuff coming out.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, man. All right, I think that is officially everything on the roster for this week. So, to run it down again, remember our site's punchdrunkcritics.com. You can go there every day. Content is posted every single day. Reviews whenever we're allowed to post, whenever they say our embargo is up and we're allowed. So check it out every day for all the latest stuff. On Twitter, the site is at PDC Movies. Travis is at Punchy Critic, and I am Punch Drunk John. On Twitch, Travis is cinematic_enforcer. And if you have any tips, questions, or want to reach out to us for any reason at all, please do at info@punchdrunkcritics.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, and if you're listening on podcast, thank you for subscribing there as well. And if you can write a review, that would just be peachy keen. Until next week, guys, I'm John.
I'm Travis.
And we are out of here.
John